Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Boki Etife, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It's still bookish stuff, of course, obviously, because this channel is all about books. I'm just going to be bringing in something that I've always wanted to do, and that's talking about historical figures and historical events and just really analyzing it and just talking about them and just telling people that have never heard about these people before that okay, these people existed and they left their print on the sands of time. So we're starting with Nigeria's sweetheart. I say sweetheart because you know how Americans say a particular Hollywood star is America's sweetheart. So if Fela was a Hollywood star, I think he would refer to as America's sweetheart, or putting it in Nigerian scene, he is Nigeria's sweetheart. Thinking of it now, using sweetheart and saying Fela, it kind of downplays downplays his impact in Nigerian scene, because when you think of Fela, you actually think of power, you think of strength, you think of resilience. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. In the minds of most Nigerians, I'm yet to see a Nigerian that does not like Fela. Even if you do not like his personality or you say, oh, this man, because the media did well to paint Fela as a hedonistic Indian hemp smoking man. But even if people say, oh, I don't like this man's side, oh, but you know, that music is something that no one can deny. Because growing up in Nigeria, you cannot miss it. It's like you cannot run away from Fela. It's just there. You have to know him as a Nigerian. You have to love him and respect him as a Nigerian. You can't miss his music, because if you don't hear it in your house, if your parents are not blaring his music at home, you are going to hear it in the marketplace. You're going to hear it in radio stations. Your teacher, or even your pastor or priest or whatever religion you are practicing, is going to reference his song lyrics. That is what Fela did for Nigerian people. He was the voice of the voiceless. He's Pan-Africanist, he's an activist, he's overall a fighter for Africanism. Reading this biography by Carlos Moore was such an honor. But this was my favorite read from April because I really enjoyed it. And I doff my hat to Carlos Moore for the way he wrote this biography. Because most of the chapters in this book are written using the first person narrative technique. So it seems like it's actually the legend himself speaking to you. So it really just gives you a personal journey through the book. There are some chapters that have interviews with Fela's close friends and acquaintances, and also his queens. So the book is really a nice journey. You just really see everything beautifully. So the book pretty much just strengthens all what we've thought about Fela in the past. Yes, it also outlined his weaknesses and his mistakes. Yeah, we all know that, but it doesn't change the fact that Fela is a legend. The book starts from when he was a child down to his demise in 1997, a burial that was attended by millions of people. He was respected and loved because Fela was, like I said earlier, the voice of the voiceless. He was the born in the truth of corrupt politicians, because Fela is one of the most vocal voices of the 20th century, because that time was marked with so much counter coup, corruption, oppression against the poor, and Fela has this thing that he thinks his purpose in life was to speak up for those people who had no voice, to always be their voice and to always defend them no matter the cost. And he did that to the very last. Because when I was reading the book and I saw how much injustice was meted out to him, because the government was trying so hard to just shut him up. In the space of 25 years, he had over 200 court cases. So you see how serious that is. He was in and out of jail. His Calacuta Republic was sacked. His mother was thrown from a story building down. His people around him were hurt. So, but he still showed a lot of resilience despite all of this. And that's why Nigerians respect him so much, because his music was truth, and he was just somebody that was just willing to go all out for the people. He believed so much in Africanism. He believed so much in instilling a sort of pride in Africans. the African pride is there, but sometimes he just like, oh, have some kind of colonial mentality, and he outlined some of those things in the book, and I think yes, this is true, this is true, and there are a lot of things that he talked about in the book that I really find nice, and I outlined them to be 5 things. First was, what's in a name? For Africans, names are very important. We even through naming ceremony, your father gives you a name, your mother, your grandparents, your someone in the society can give you a name, your sister, but it's actually carefully thought out, because we believe that names have a way of um, accompanying someone through their journey in life. So if you give someone a bad name, they will most likely turn out that way. When you give someone, when you speak good into the person's life through their names, it welcomes them into the world properly. And this is something that Fela understood so much as an African man, someone who was keen on promoting Africanism. So names were very important to him. So that's why the first chapter in his book was about his birth, and Fela claims to be an Abiku. The Abiku is a Yoruba word which loosely translates to be someone that was born twice. So basically, he reincarnated. He said he came to the world in 1938 first. An interesting story. And when he was born, his parents were Protestants. That means they've embraced the Christianity then. So in a bid to please the German missionary then, they said, oh, he should come give the baby a name. And this is something that it's not really nice in African culture. So the German missionary gave him Hildegard. 2 weeks later, he said no, his spirit rebelled and said no, he had to leave this world. So that baby died, then came back years later as Fela. Fela also adopted the name Anikulapo, which loosely translates for someone who holds death in his pouch. So just that name just really resonates, because it means that he never dies. Because even though Fela is physically dead, his legacy cannot be undone. That's how I see it. So Anikulapo it really resonates. So you see how much names are important to Africans. Why do Africans pick European names? Like my name, I have a European name, and that's Paula. Paula, why do I have that name? And why do other Africans pick English names or European names? They'll always say your English name. So because of colonialism and because of the slave trade. So when the Europeans came to Africa, they couldn't pronounce our names, and most of them thought our names were just barbaric and all that, because they did not understand it, and most of the time it was just because they couldn't pronounce it. So they said, okay, we have to pick new names. So they started giving us new names. And even when you are going to get baptized because you have accepted the Christian faith, they say, oh, this is your old name, because they assume that everything Africans were doing was barbaric and all black magic. So they said, okay, drop this name and pick up a new name since you're coming into the faith. So that's why most Nigerians, most Africans, you see them answering European names because of colonialism. And for those that were shipped out of the continent, they have new names because the slave masters gave them those names. And yeah, so just kind of really breaks that our tradition of giving ourselves really beautiful names. African names are so beautiful. It's not because I'm an African, but African names are so beautiful. They have this meaning. African names are not just names. A name can tell you the history of a people. It can tell you what was, by history, it can tell you what was going on at that particular time. It tells you the journey of the person. It tells you the journey of the person's family. So names are really deep and important. And this was very obvious. It was very obvious in the book that Fela valued names. So most chapters, you can see the translation of the beautiful African names splayed out multiple times. So yeah, I really love that part, because I think that more people should know this, because most Africans are quickly, yes, in as much as most Africans are beginning to embrace having African names, some are also just dropping their religion to that culture and tradition to the side and just picking European names. I think cultures like this should be upheld, not some kind of cultures that they'll just tag culture, but culture, having beautiful names, speaking the language, as something that we shouldn't depart from. And that's something that Fela was also trying to portray in this book, that see, your name is beautiful and you do not have to change it. Own it, you're African, and just love your name, because names are deep, and I am a firm believer of this. One of my favorite things that was highlighted in this book was the birth of Afrobeats. That it just really shows originality for me, because in a book we saw Fela's journey into music and all that, how he started music, how he fell in love with music and all that. And his journey, how he went to the UK, how he went to America, how he learned about Malcolm X, how just his musical journey was there. And first, Fela was actually playing jazz music. Then his mother told him that, okay, come on, I'm just paraphrasing now. Come on, you have to start playing music that your people understand, not this jazz thing. So, and it really resonates with him. Something I love in this book as well, I digress a bit, is that Fela always, I love how highly Fela spoke about his mother. And who wouldn't? Chief Fumilayo Ransom Kuti is a legend in Nigeria as well. She's an activist for women. She fought a lot of battles for women. She fought for suffrage rights for women, so women were able to vote in the first time elections were held in Nigeria. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. She was the first woman to drive a car in Nigeria. She was a force just like her son. So you can tell how much Fela values and adores his mother from the way he describes her in the book. So when she gave him this piece of advice, it really sank in. It sank in, and that really just kind of started, set the ball rolling for him to experiment Afrobeat. Afrobeat is, if you don't know about Afrobeat, where are you? Where are you? Yeah, honestly, because everybody knows about Afrobeat. So I'm sorry, but where are you? Where have you been? Anyway, Afrobeat is a beautiful music, and it's really taking the world at large. There are a lot of stars that have over time really held on to Afrobeat, because it's a genre of music in its own right. So it's a mesmerizing concoction of African sound, but it also has draws some strings from black music, music like jazz. I just said just now that Fela was actually playing jazz music, so there's a little input of jazz and some black music in America. So, but most of the time it's just really a concussion of Africanism in the beat. So it's almost spiritual. Yeah. So so Fela actually birthed that genre, and it has gone from generation to generation. You see artists hailing Fela. It's artists like Wizkid, artists like Burna Boy, even in Coachella. Beyonce actually used Fela's beats in Coachella. So Fela is a genius. I've been talking about Africanism too. That's something I also love throughout this book. The book, Fela is so African to the core. Yes, most of his Africanism were not really perfect, and his beliefs were not really perfect. Sometimes he spoke from an ignorant point of view, but he was so African. He talked about Yoruba. He talked about Yoruba mythology. He spoke about spiritualism in Africa, amongst Africans. He spoke about loving your African roots. He also spoke about the communal nature of Africans. Hence, he created Kalakuta Republic. So it just really shows. He just really wanted Africans to be proud of themselves, no matter what. And there was this need. Through his music and from how he spoke in the book, he always wanted Africans to understand that they are worth it, and they're actually the best from the best crop. I'm quoting Jay-Z's lyrics there. They're actually from the best crop, and we should just really be proud of ourselves. I think there was a pain, like if he could shake us to understand that, he would have done it, because he did not stop talking about Africanism in this book. He talked about how Africans needed to create their own, needed to understand themselves, needed to be liberal, to have a mind of their own, to think and embrace their own. And also, knowingly and unknowingly, Fela actually spoke up for women's rights. a funny story or quick story. It might not be funny to you, but anyway, quick story. When the first chapter I read from this biography was the chapter where he was talking about women, about his queens, because I saw it on Bookstagram. So a fellow Bookstagrammer recommended this book. Follow me on Bookstagram anyway, at Sweet Escape with 4K. So a fellow Bookstagrammer recommended this book, and I said, okay, this is something I can read. It's nice. And she also warned about this chapter that, okay, if you're someone that can get annoyed easily about topics like this, I advise you to avoid this chapter. And me, I love anything contemporary stuff about women rights. Those topics are something that you can, even if I'm sleeping, just say so. Just you can. That's the other thing. That's one of the ways you can get my attention. Talk about women's rights. Just say something about women's rights, and you have gotten my attention automatically. So she said that, and I said, I need to go and read this book quickly. So I checked on my digital app, and I saw that it was available. I said, okay, great, check that chapter. And Fela was spewing some of the most annoying things I've ever read in my life. That's Fela for you. He's really someone that is just really okay. They use the word to describe in the book. I've forgotten the word, but something about in the lines of him being a very controversial fellow. So he said some things like women are made to actually satisfy men, and women are not supposed to do men's jobs, and how I'm coming. The one that blew my mind most is that women. Okay, he first of all said that to build a society you need strong men that can build roads and all that kind of things. Then he said that women's jobs are supposed to be more tender. So tender stuff like childbirth. I kid you not. Oh God, my mouth is full now. He actually said that childbirth is more of like uh, lesser stuff that women are doing. When I read that, I just brushed the book to the side. I was so mad. I just went on a rant. I was so angry. Honestly, that really annoyed me. But I said, like I said earlier, you can't help but love him. So I said, let me read this biography stuff. Let me hear what he has. Although he had various opinions about women not being able to work, women's job and all that, you can also tell from the way he spoke about his queens. First they were his girls because he wasn't married to them, but he got married to about 27 women. 27 women. Yeah, 27 women. And so when they became married, they progressed to be his queens. So when you talk about his queens, you can see that he has so much respect for them and admiration. He was knowingly and unknowingly a woman's rights advocate, because he admired those. He admired the women in his life. He really admired them and accorded them their respect and accorded them their much needed recognition. So yeah, that's just what I. So when I read the book, I'm like, okay, you admire your mother and you see how strong she is, and you speak about your wives or your queens in such high regard. You talk about how they're so brave. An example was when, after Calcutta Republic was sacked by Nigerian soldiers, his mother was thrown down from the story building, and that really affected her health, and it kind of led to her demise. So he actually carried her coffin and went to drop it at the gate of the then head of state of Nigeria. And guess who accompanied him to do that? His wives, his queens. They actually carried that coffin with him. So he talked about how that these women are really brave. So they stood by him. They were forced to be reckoned with. This was the first time. This book was the first time that the queens were interviewed. About 15 of the women were interviewed in this book. So yeah, check it out. And need I add that the women are really beautiful, really beautiful, because every interview comes with a picture, and because the book has pictures of Fela at different times in his life. So the picture of the women are in the book. So, and the women, they're really beautiful. African women, African women are beautiful. I need to just add that part, because when I look at, like, she's beautiful, she's beautiful, she's beautiful, she's beautiful. That's what I was just saying as I read their interview, each of them. I think I mentioned it earlier that every human being has a purpose, and Fela's purpose in life was to leave an indelible mark. He played his role in, like, he left behind Afrobeats for us, and a sense of pride in being African. He instilled that pride in us. So when he was speaking, like, he had a purpose, and I was like, what's my purpose in life? So I said, okay, yeah, my purpose is to actually make people read. So please pick up this book and read, so that I can be fulfilling my purpose one day at a time. Yeah. So resilience and purpose, like, it's something that he possessed. He was unafraid to say it. He was never afraid to speak his mind. He was vulnerable. He was like, despite all the harsh treatment that meted out on him and his people that were around him, he showed resilience. So yeah, if I were in Fela's shoes, best believe that I'll bail. Best believe that I would run away. But Fela never was a celebrity that would run away or be high and mighty. No, he preferred to live among the people who are poor. He really was one with the ordinary man. And he said something about never leaving his country, that he can never leave his country, he can never go on exile, because he had the resources to do that. He can decide to say, okay, I'm done with this problem, I'm moving to the UK or America, I'll keep on singing my music, showing love to the country from afar. You guys, good luck. Because the leaders at that time were not nice. They were so hard on him, but he kept going, he kept going, he kept going. So yeah, if everyone had that kind of fighting spirit in them, I believe that Africa would have moved forward by now. Yeah. So he's one to look out. He's one to look at. He's one to learn from. Tell me what you think about this book if you've read it. Please, 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 I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section. I'd love to read your comments. And yeah, I need to do this more often. I'm definitely going to do it. At the moment, I'm thinking of talking about Thomas Sankara, the then military head of state of Burkina Faso. Yeah, I think that's going to be my next historical figure on this channel. So do not go anywhere. Stay tuned. Like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel. Okay? Until next time, do take care of yourself, and goodbye.